I'd like to, let's see, my Rangers are here. I'd like to welcome our Arizona Rangers that were kind enough to come and help us out tonight if needed. Captain Gabriel, Lieutenant Kimmer, and Master Sergeant Howard. Thank you so much. Again, turn off your cell phones, please. At this time, we're going to have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, so we'd like to ask you to stand and remain standing. First, we'll have Jenny Crawford with the invocation, followed by Chairman Cox, our Pima County GOP Chairman, doing the pledge. Let's bow our heads. Oh God, we thank you so much for our country, America, the freedom, the liberty, the prosperity this country has. We are blessed, and we thank you for that. Lord, we thank you for a wonderful state that has such natural beauty to it. And we thank you, yes, our country and the state and our county is struggling economically, but looking at the world, we are prosperous, and we thank you for that. Lord, I lift Pima County up to you. You know who should win this election coming up between Ray and Sean. I pray that this debate is civil, is honest, is truthful. I know emotions are running high on both sides. I just pray that all of us are gracious and we think of each other. Lord, thank you for allowing us to get this school, which is just a lovely place to have a debate. Thank you for that. Thank you for the Tea Party patriots who have put it together. Lord, we thank you and praise you for all things. Amen. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, again, tonight's event is sponsored by the Pima County Tea Party Patriots, and I'd like to introduce patriots that are here tonight. Becky Page, one of our founders. Frank Olivieri, one of our founders. Sharice Stephens, founder. Cheryl Lamont. David Hammond. We have another member, his name is Vince Leach, but he's on a well-deserved vacation and we hope to have him back real soon. Grady Rhodes. And I'm Dee Pfeiffer. Sharice has something to say. We're going to pass the sign-in sheets on both sides of the room and the donation bucket on each side of the room. We did ask the Rangers to be here as our security, just to make sure that nothing happens. So we will be needing to collect donations, and also we do have to pay for this venue and all the other things that go with it because we do not get a library large enough to hold us all. So if you guys could graciously help us out with some donations so we can take care of the Rangers at the end of the evening and also pay the Vail school system. So thank you so much, and we'll be passing this around. And please sign in so we know how many people were here. And if you don't want to put your email address, that's fine. Don't put it there. Just we did need names, so thank you.
Okay, now it's my pleasure to welcome this evening's MC and moderator, Mr. Garrett Lewis. KNST. Morning radio talk show host on AM 790 and FM 97.1. He's graciously volunteered to help us out tonight, and we would like to welcome him. Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for all being here. This is very, very important. I would like to introduce both candidates come to the stage. First, Ray Carroll. And now Sean Collins. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over the rules, and bear with me because there are a little bit of rules. We're going to start with a 1-minute introduction for each candidate. There will be 14 questions with 90 seconds for response. Each candidate will receive 3 30-second challenge cards. Those are the ones right in front of you guys. They can be used during the general question session only. So if there is a chance for rebuttal, if they want to rebut what the other is saying, they can just hold the card up and we'll do that. Depending on the time remaining, following general questions for both candidates, each candidate will draw up to 3 additional candidate-specific questions from a hat and will have a 2-minute response time, 1 minute for rebuttal, and an additional 30 seconds for clarification for each question. This process will alternate between candidates. Our timer right in front of us right here will display the time cards at 30 second, 15 second, and 0 seconds. Please adhere to the warning so you're not cut off in mid-sentence. At the conclusion of the last question, each candidate will be given another minute to summarize and close. If a candidate does not answer a question to the satisfaction of the board member moderators behind me, he may be asked for a more detailed answer, or at the discretion of the moderators, lose one of his challenge cards. And due to time constraints, we ask that the candidates use your time to respond specifically to each question and showcase why you are the exemplary candidate for the job rather than attacking each other. And we've already drawn cards, and the order is going to be Ray first and then Sean. So we'll start with the 1-minute introduction. The microphone is right there. Timekeeper. So when we're ready to go, we'll have Ray do a 1-minute introduction, and then Sean, and then we'll start with Ray with the first question.
Testing. Thank you, Garrett. I want to thank the Pima County Tea Party Patriots as well for hosting this debate. I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight and discuss issues facing District 4. First off, I think it would be appropriate that I congratulate the Rincon Little Leaguers. Probably some of them go to this school who just won the state championship for the 2nd time and who are on their way to California to play the regionals, and I know they'll go all the way. So I think all the parents here and people appreciate that as much as I do. I think Garrett Lewis, of course, I know it's a long day when you host a morning radio program and then you do an event like this in the evening. He gets up very early, so thanks, Garrett, for being here. And I especially want to thank my wife, Ann, for being here tonight. During this campaign, I'm glad to have the opportunity to clarify the significant differences between my opponent and my politics, my positions. But I really want to appreciate Ann for being with me and by my side for 28 years, especially half of it in politics. Thank you very much.
Okay, now 1 minute for Sean Collins.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here to speak to all of you tonight. Again, my name is Sean Collins. I'm a candidate for Pima County Supervisor, District 4. I've got tremendous support from my wife here as well. She's my rock. I'm glad she could be here. I look forward to the opportunity to address my opponent as well, folks. I'd like to get some issues clarified. I'd like for you to see that I am the right choice to be the next supervisor, and I just really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. once again, we're going to have 14 questions with 90-second response time. And the challenge cards are there for rebuttal. Ray is going to go first, and I want to remind once again that the questions all came from the Pima County Tea Party Patriots. Okay, Ray? Jobs are coming to the state of Arizona, but not Pima County. What is your specific plan to attract new businesses and to increase economic development, such as reducing corporate taxes and other incentives to entice businesses to locate here with jobs rather than Maricopa County?
Thank you very much. I've been a proponent of business expansion in Pima County. I think it's clear that over my years of service, no one on the Board of Supervisors has done more about job creation than my office. That's why I have the support of long-standing business associations like the Southern Arizona Home Builders and the Tucson Association of Realtors. That's why many people know that I've had support and opportunities to give support to expand mining industries like Asarco, Green Valley, Freeport-McMoran, Oracle Ridge on Mount Lemmon, or Catalina. It's all about making sure that these are right jobs to fit our economy and our environment. When you talk about jobs, I think that you need a supervisor that knows how to be a broker, an honest broker for the people, and discern between what's good and what's better. And I think for the most part, you have to have an honest broker who will disclose the defects of potential jobs and adhere to the rules and the principles, but also impress people. When there is a good opportunity for all of us in Pima County, we need to get behind it. So I'm very happy to be here. I think what we need to do is make sure that our business climate, our taxes are lower, our open house sign is up for businesses that are coming here. We've had excellent opportunities to make companies like Roche feel at home, like companies in the United Health and the business park that's in District 4 out here at the Tech Park feel at home, and I plan on continuing to do that.
We want to remind candidates to answer this question specifically, which was, what is your specific plan to attract new businesses and increase economic development?
Well, I say lower taxes, obviously, and do more in advocacy for companies that would like to come here. Probably lastly is to do what we did at the Tucson Metropolitan Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is audit the TRIO organization.
Okay. Now to Sean Collins. I'll repeat the questions. Questions are a little bit long.
Thank you.
Jobs are coming to the state of Arizona, but not Pima County. What is your specific plan to attract new businesses and to increase economic development, such as reducing corporate taxes and other incentives to entice businesses to locate here with jobs rather than Maricopa County?
Well, thank you. As you know, many of you know, a recent study by the University of Arizona showed that Maricopa County has created 69,000 jobs since 2010. Pima County has created 899 jobs since 2010. Folks, that's unacceptable. We have too many people in this county who are without a job and with no jobs looking like they're coming into this county. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't believe that there has been a lot of incentive for businesses to come to this county. We do need to lower the taxes. But we don't need to lower the taxes for the businesses that are coming here individually. We need to have a tax cut across the board. It's got to be something that entices those businesses who have been here through the hard times to stay here, and certainly reward those who want to come here. I think we need to stop putting our hands out, saying we're going to say no to jobs on a regular basis. And 1 in 4 children here live in poverty. We need to change that. I think, as I mentioned, taxes are way too high. Our debt is way too high. Can you imagine Pima County without Raytheon? Can you imagine Pima County without Davis-Monthan Air Force Base? Please get that picture in your head, folks. Fixing our roads is part of that too. We need to do something where we can attract business to this town. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to also remind you we have 14 questions with the possibility of 3 additional, and we give you a good amount of time. You don't have to use all the time. We would like just to hear the specific answers to the questions. Sean, we're going to start with you for question 2. It appears that about $525 million of highway user fees and vehicle license taxes were collected over 10 years. About $167 million went to debt service and only 15 million went to road repairs. That leaves 345 million that went where? Only 3% of the highway funds went to road repair. Why so much administration?
Thank you. Great question. Why? My opinion is when monies are allocated to fix our roads, they should go to fix our roads. As an example, if our schools continue to collect and take the money that was allocated to teach our students and put the majority of it in administrative services, our kids would not have the education they do. And by the way, Vail is an A+ school. It's just there's some type of notation today that they want it again. The Vail School District, I think that's wonderful. Anytime we have money that's allocated to our roads, I understand that a lot of it goes to paying off the administrative portion. I think, again, it's atrocious. It will stop the monies that we need absolute transparency in this. And $50 million this past year, $53 million, of which $3 million went to the legislators. It was not rated by the legislation, but those $50 million that were available for our roads, I don't see it, folks. They spend a small amount on that. You drive potholes every day, you avoid them, and they're a safety issue, they've got to be fixed. I'm sure each and every one of you knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, we need a new plan. We're broken. Let's fix our roads with the money that's designated to fix our roads.
It appears that about $525 million of highway user fees and vehicle license taxes were collected over 10 years. About $167 million went to debt service and only $15 million went to road repairs. That leaves $345 million that went where? Only 3% of the highway funds went to road repair. Why so much administration?
First off, as a board member, I can tell you that I have priorities that are transportation related. The budget as it goes in my county is not always as I predict or that I have the ability to make happen. There's a $39 million transportation budget each year. For the past few years, I've had the lion's share of the pothole repairs and of the other expenditures that have gone in to Pima County. It's important that everyone knows that each year, the Pima County budget and the certified annual financial report are audited by the State Auditor General. There is monies that have gone through that are going to be for administration, that are going to be for workers, but they're also going to be these dollars to pay for the HERF monies, the HERF bonds that were approved in 1997. It's a very large debt. It's a phased style of debt due to arbitrage and other rules and regulations of bond sales. These HERF monies go to pay back the HERF road bonds, the 53 road bond projects that have been, and some are almost all are completed now. So the road work and everything that's from staff to street science and engineering work is accounted for. And there are people that would like to double check the figures, and that's all on the internet. Or you can call the State Auditor General and get a second opinion. But I think it's important that all of us know that these monies are not my priority. I fight, and I'm the squeaky wheel to get my roads done. Thank you.
You are going to have 30 seconds to rebut that.
Thank you. I don't want an opinion, a first or a second opinion. I want facts. If there is $1 that is unaccounted for, I don't care if it's $1 or $345 million, it's unaccounted for. That's where I stand on that issue. Our roads need to be fixed in all over Pima County, and there is no excuse for monies that are not going to fix our roads. There's such a small amount of money that went to fix our roads. It's a problem for the children, for the 16-year-olds who are getting out there to learn to drive, folks. It's a problem for okay, thank you.
All right. You have to pull the rebut card.
I'm glad that was challenged, because obviously there is a group that have done some publicity on this issue. I will say that the Arizona's Brightest Future, that the news that came out, I looked into it, and I will say that they don't have, in a lot of those transportation funds, they counted debt service and pothole filling. They forgot the RTA's expenditures. They have no operating costs for the annual, just to name two. It's like saying your household budget only includes your mortgage and your landscaping. There's so much more that goes into a transportation budget. Thank you.
Question 3, we're going to start with Ray, and you each have 2 rebuttal cards left. Ray, we'll start with you. With current economic losses and state-shared revenue decreases, how would you prioritize county services, and what departments would you cut or reduce funding in order to provide a balanced budget without increasing taxes?
That for me is easy because I proposed an alternate budget, not just this year, but every year as a board member in Pima County. This year I would prioritize, first off, I believe the assessed values of our homes are still too high, and I'm sure you agree with me. The total budget for Pima County is $1.2 billion, and the tax rate is about 3.4178 per 100. Now what I would do is reprioritize. First off, most people know that the unions are not a big fan of my record. I would move to privatize some of these services. As you know, we've privatized healthcare this last year in a lot of aspects. I would also privatize IT, information technology. It's so swift moving that sometimes by the time we get our department up and ready with a new program, it's already outdated, it's already passed by the current times. And we cannot have that. Also, I would plan on privatizing plan review for the development services. As development services comes back, we need to expedite that process and make it leaner and meaner. I also want to say transportation maintenance and paving could be privatized entirely. But lastly, I want to say that it's important. If it's in the phone book, you can privatize it. We need to look at things like that to bring down the cost of government on you, the taxpayers. Government's too big, taxes are too high, and Chuck Huckleberry, the old transportation director, needs to go.
Okay, Sean, with current economic losses and state-shared revenue decreases, how would you prioritize county services, and what departments would you cut or reduce funding in order to provide a balanced budget without increasing taxes?
Thank you, Gary. I'd say the first thing I would do is take that budget, sit down with some people who really know budgets. Now, I've got a background on budgets, folks. I deal with high-level budgets and contracts all the time. That's what I do. We need to prioritize those things. We need to cut out the fat. In 15 years, our budget has doubled. It's gone from approximately $700 million to it was 1.4 at one time, now it's $1.24 billion. I agree about the privatization. There's way too much waste. I think government needs to get smaller and not larger. We're top heavy. I think there's a good way to fix that. That's the same way it is our federal government. One thing I certainly would look at is certainly not increase any kind of tax. I think we've got more than enough junk in our budget to take care of things like pay raises for our sheriff, our police, people that take care of us on a regular basis. And the debt, we have the highest debt here. Important for everyone to know, more debt than all the counties in Pima County combined. We have the highest tax rate. And we're not seeing the services, folks, that we need here for the highest tax rate in this county.
Are there any specific departments or services that you would cut or reduce?
No, I believe that, excuse me. Answer.
Time's up. Okay. All right. Just remember, let's try to concentrate on answering the specifics of what you would do in these situations. All right, Sean, you're going to lead off with question 4 because Ray had question 3. Do you support the forensic financial audit of the Pima County budget bonds? Why or why not?
The answer is yes, unequivocally. The audits that are done, apparently it was, someone made the statement that I don't think we even do audits. Audits are important. Audits lead to transparency. That's the thing that we're lacking here in Pima County, is transparency. Where there's transparency, there's accountability. And they've got to go hand in hand. That's one thing I would definitively change. But again, they keep people straight, they keep our government straight, folks. And you need to know, in fact. I don't believe that monies are going where they're supposed to. I think there's too much heavy, what you talking in our administration. But we definitely need to change that. Without audits, we pretty much are going to have what we have right now. And I think that there are a couple issues that we're all going to be finding out about not too long about the result of some of the audits that we've had in this county. So the answer is, I think, support it, yes.
Okay. Right. Do you support the forensic financial audit of the Pima County budget and bonds? Why or why not?
I sure do. Not only do I support it, I forced the board majority to have one on the 1997 HERF bonds. I knew something was wrong with those bonds, and so did most of you. There was too much chicanery in the contracting. The right-of-way was way underestimated for cost. We began to look into how they were picking their consultants and their other engineers and their other experts that were involved in the system. I called for an audit with Supervisor Day on the steps of Presidio Park, and we finally got the board to succumb to an audit, a forensic audit of the 1997 bonds, which is in about 2001, and we found a big gap there. A big gap because it showed that so much was promised and under-delivered that it needed to be reviewed. That is one reason why those bonds are coming back onto finishing the projects. We would have been left out of the 53 projects with more than a dozen left unfinished. It's important to have bonds. Forensic bonds on the entire budget would be my first move to see what actually had happened. When we get 3 board members that are Republican, when we move this board into the 21st century finally, we will do a forensic audit, and we'll make sure each and every one of you can see that audit online. We'll be able to point out where the monies went and how we're going to restore some integrity to the budget process for Pima County. I sure appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about budgets and audits, but I'm the person who's walked the walk and talked the talk on budgets.
Okay, question 5, Ray, we're going to start with you. Pima County's bond debt is said to be about $1.5 billion. Currently, a bond approved by the voters can be diverted to other projects with a 3-2 vote by the Board of Supervisors per the Pima County Truth in Bonding Code, section 3.060.0708. Dang that one. Do you approve of this provision in the current bond policy? Why or why not? If not, how would you change it?
I do not, and I believe it should be at least a supermajority of the board that can only move bonds. There has to be 3 public hearings to talk about bond projects. What the necessity is to change, why not make it at least a supermajority? I believe that would be something that the board should be able to do tomorrow. If I had my perfect world, it would be a unanimous vote to move bonds. If they're that legitimately needed to be moved, then that's how it should be, the unanimous vote after 3 hearings. If they have to compromise and go a supermajority, I'd be fine. I do believe that bond packages, sometimes over the life of a bond, when you can sell a bond package to the people, it does exist then for 10 or 15 years post the election. Just like the 97 bonds, they've done in phases. It's because you can only borrow so much on what your bond capacity is per phase. So what you have to do is sometimes things change. Sometimes events happen where you want to change some monies around. It should be unanimous, but I would take supermajority just to make a subtle compromise. I will also say that Pima County residents are for about $1,000 per capita in bond indebtedness. Other communities across the state, Maricopa, for example, where 90% is incorporated, they don't share as much bond debt as we do. The jurisdictions take on the bond debt, and it's almost even as much or more than Pima County owns per capita. Thank you.
Just to follow, if you want to get the supermajority, how would you make that happen?
Supermajority would have to be done so you could get 4 votes.
No, how would you change the law, the code?
You have to change the code through a process of the legal department first, put it on the agenda, and then get the votes to do it.
Okay.
And that's what I would suggest to do. I think this election is going to bring us 3 Republican supervisors. We'll be able to do that almost in the first 60 days. Thank you very much.
Sean, Pima County's bond debt is said to be about $1.5 billion. Currently, a bond approved by the voters can be diverted to other projects with a 3-2 vote by the Board of Supervisors per the Pima County Truth in Bonding Code Section 3.060.070D. Do you approve of this provision in the current bond policy? Why or why not? If not, how to change it?
Thank you, Gary. No is the answer. I do not approve that. I do not believe that a 3-2 majority, should decide where our bonds. Excuse me. You said we have the highest bond that we do. It's ridiculous. There are ways that we could. We need to tie our bonds to a time frame for one thing. If our bonds were tied to a time frame, we wouldn't have the issues of Canola Ranch. We wouldn't have the issues of happening in a county courthouse complex that was voted on. I'm sorry, but in 2004, I believe. I don't believe that there should be a process whereby we can reallocate the money that's the voters had put in place that they want for a particular bond. But putting it with the time frame is going to make all the difference. The county courthouse complex, again, voted for in 2004. It's still not built. Now they don't have enough money to fix it. What happened to that? That was not the voters' will. Canola Ranch, a lot of money went to that project. Now they're just finding some money to put some additional bathrooms there and do some other things. I think that's inappropriate. We cannot sustain that kind of thing. And as far as I'm concerned, this supermajority, I don't believe supermajority or not, that anyone should be able to change what happens with those bonds. Okay?
Thank you. Now we go to question 6. Sean, we'll start with you. And again, these questions given by the Pima County Tea Party Patriots. Will you vote yes or no for the 1-cent sales tax increase?
That's an easy one. No. My opponent will tell you that he voted against, or he voted no for an increase some years ago. You know, the problem is, as a fiscal conservative, there's no way. We have too much fat in our budget. Way too much fat. Take it apart. Folks, there's money in there that is, there's so many pet projects, it's ridiculous. And I think our Board of Supervisors knows if you're on the inside, you get something done. You're on the outside, forget it. In fact, that's been portrayed to me by a number of people in this district. So, really, the answer is no. There's not a chance that we do it. We take that money from the overage we have in our current budget. Excuse me?
It was the state sales tax that we're referring to, sir.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it, Ray. No, the answer is no. I would not.
Okay. Do you want to just take a swing at that anyway? Yeah.
Do you want me to answer that?
You can talk about since Sean got 90 seconds, you can talk about a 1-cent tax increase as well.
Okay, look, I will vote against the 1-cent tax. I think that the government has enough money now. I've been a fiscal conservative since the first day I came into office, and you know what? They warned of doom and gloom in '98 when I would not vote for a half-cent sales tax to go directly into the general fund. Unearmarked, just 3 votes would take it to any pet pork project in the entire county. I voted against that in '98, voted against it in 2006, because they kept crying the doom and gloom that this county was going to fold if they didn't have that sales tax. Guess what, folks? A half-cent sales tax, $50 million a year. It never went into the general fund, and the government survived. It proves to everyone in this room and everyone in this county that the claims are puffed. They don't need the extra money. As long as I've been in government, I know the government spends too much and has too much, wants too much, and doesn't need that much. So thank you very much. I'm not going to vote for any sales taxes. I'm the Grover Northwest of Tucson when it comes to that. We're not going to increase your sales taxes when the board has a Republican majority either. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Would you be in favor of examining current social programs that have been funded by taxpayer dollars with the possibility of eliminating some of these programs if they're no longer appropriate, necessary, or duplicative? If so, have you identified any, and what are they?
Well, many people during welfare reform have been screaming about the opportunities that people would become more destitute than they had been. But what it was really about welfare reform was accountability. It was about giving people a hand up and not a handout, making them responsible for themselves. I believe in that. I also believe that people should have an opportunity to work, and that's what I should do as a Pima County Supervisor. I try to bring down taxes, minimize the tax burden on businesses, so a rising tide can lift all boats. It's important to reduce government intrusions in businesses and institute policies that increase the opportunity for businesses to come here. As a friend of mine once told me, when you have 4 guys sitting around a poker table, each with $100, that $400 is just going to move around the table from pot to pot. But if you bring 2 new people in, that's $600. Bring 2 more. That's the way you rise the economy. A rising tide raises all boats. And in the next opportunity, as we get out of this Great Recession, it's time for us to make our government more accessible, more lean, and more opportunistic for businesses that want to come to our valley and help us become more prosperous. And we can't waste it, the prosperity, as was done in this last recession. We need to reduce our expenditures as a government. We need to reduce our...
Do you have any examples of any programs that you'd like?
Well, I would reduce, let's say, reduce the ones that I don't like.
Did reduce any government program, any current social program funded by tax dollars?
I would say that there are some education projects that have showed very few results. There are also some business ventures that the county has gotten into that are about GED studies, but really haven't shown any results. One, for example, is Las Artes. They've got a lot of money, they've got a GED program, but none of those kids could fix the tile in your bathroom.
Okay. Sean, would you be in favor of examining current social programs that have been funded by taxpayer dollars with the possibility of eliminating some of these programs if they are no longer appropriate, necessary, or duplicative? If so, have you identified any, and what are they?
Thank you, Gary. I absolutely ought to be in favor of examining those social programs. If they're duplicative, it's by definition. We certainly don't need to have two social programs entertaining the same item. You know, we could certainly do an awful lot by bringing jobs here. I'll tell you that the jobs. You know, we've had a problem here promoting business success. You know, we need an advocacy group that can do that. We could do something like, for instance, let's say Maricopa County, excuse me. They've got one person who can point you in the direction you need to go. Let's give businesses an opportunity to, from start to opening their doors, not to have the problems with going downtown, talking to somebody different every time. It's a hassle, folks. I know. I'm a small business owner. We had a lot of problems opening our business. And those were primarily because of the problems getting back and forth.
Instead of jobs, do you have any specific social programs that you know of that you would like to eliminate from the county, reduce or eliminate?
You know, I don't think that we need to have all of the transportation that we currently do to some extended parts of the county when we're spending a lot of money for those transportation projects, i.e., let's say a bus, for instance, that goes all the way to the other end of the district. Those things, there's no gain for we're not getting anything in return. So I reduce that.
Okay. All right, Sean, we're going to start with you with question 8. Do you agree with the Board of Supervisors' $6 million decision to purchase land next to Raytheon as a buffer for Raytheon's protection and expansion? Does this take property tax income off the county tax roll?
Thank you. Let's just say, no, I do not agree with that decision. As I understand it, that property was worth somewhere in the Well, we paid quite a bit more, let's just say that, for that property. I wouldn't certainly sell my house to someone out here for, if it was valued at $200,000, you're not gonna pay $400,000 for it. I don't think that's the correct way to go about business. Gosh, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. The follow-up was, does this take property tax income off the county tax roll?
Thank you. Anytime the county takes property off the tax rolls, it's an increased burden to every single one of us. The county does that too much. They seem to be free to do that on a regular basis. And as far as Raytheon goes, I don't understand that. They're suing Raytheon, yet they're buying property for Raytheon. In fact, Raytheon wasn't even at the table. Raytheon was not at the table when that happened. So what's happening with that, folks? That I think there was sort of an ulterior agenda there. That is my belief.
Okay. Ray, do you agree with the Board of Supervisors' decision, the $6 million decision, to purchase land next to Raytheon as a buffer necessary for Raytheon's protection and expansion?
I voted for that, and I was in commercial real estate for years. I've been on the board long enough to have had that 300 acres brought in front of the board. I voted no twice to turn it into residential. Raytheon does not need a residential project in their buffer zone. It's important that those 300 acres are now preserved for future industrial use. But the land was purchased at the right price, I thought. I know my price was at $15,000 an acre roughly for the 300 acres. It was an important purchase because two things. Raytheon wasn't at the table. Raytheon was always at the table whenever they came forward to rezone it for residential. A bomb factory is not going to have a good neighbor in a residential community. What's going to happen? The residences are going to begin to complain that there's a bomb factory across the street. What we needed to do here was to preserve the integrity of the Raytheon buffer. We needed to make sure that that land could be spun out into another industrial use eventually. But we need to do everything we can for Raytheon to continue to expand their contracts in Pima County. The second thing about Raytheon, it's the assessor.
Did that purchase take property tax income off the county tax roll?
Yes, it did, but at the same time, the assessor is the one who's been suing Raytheon in a whole different pattern that Sean brought up. It's the assessor who's a Democrat, the assessor who's kept our values high. There's never any offset. The values are high because the taxes need to stay low for this Board of Supervisors majority to be credible. Thank you.
All right, we're now at question 9. Oh, you want to rebut that? Okay, 30 seconds to rebut. Timekeeper, are you ready? Okay.
The taxes are low, and they've not remained low. I just like to make a point. They are not low, and I'm sure everyone here understands that. We have the highest taxes in the state. I'm an inactive realtor, but I understand real estate as well, and I do know when there's a property worth half what you're paying for it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, folks. Raytheon certainly could have purchased that property if they wanted that property. It's also the burden of taking that property off the tax rolls is on each and every one of us.
Thank you. We're going to start with Ray. It's a little bit of a long question, so if you need me to repeat something, just let me know. Our elected representatives are deferring policy decisions to non-elected appointed administrators to remove themselves from culpability for the end results. If the dynamics of the current Board of Supervisors changes after the election, like there's a Republican majority instead of Democrat, would you bring forth the suggestion to your Republican counterparts to terminate or not renew the county administrator, Chuck Huckleberry's contract, and return decisions and control to the elected supervisors? And how will you change, streamline, or improve the current way the Board of Supervisors meetings are conducted?
First off, I think that is a well-known fact that if I was and the majority of the board being Republican, I would be about the last person people would think would keep Mr. Huckleberry as the county administrator. My vote would be to remove County Administrator Huckleberry. My vote after that would be to do a forensic audit to see really, after the dust settles, where the money is. And then what we need to do is to make sure that a group of our board members, our caucus, gets together and figures out how to do a good search for a county administrator that can bring down the cost of the administration, and that'll go along with us to make sure that the budgets are transparent. First 60 days, bring in a Citizens Budget Review Committee to make recommendations about what are the priorities for this community, not for 3 board members and Mr. Huckleberry. That's what it's been. And I think it's important that all of you know that my appointment to the Citizens Budget Review Committee has been off. But there won't be a quorum appointed because, frankly, the board members that are currently in charge of the budget do not want any overlookers.
Okay,
it's ironic.
How would you change, streamline, or improve the current way the Board of Supervisors meetings are conducted? Give an extra 15 seconds.
Well, first off, I would make sure that each board member realizes that we're there to serve the people. We would have our executive sessions at the end of the board meetings. I think it's important for all of you to know that executive sessions need to happen. That's where we do our legal business. That's where we talk about human resources. Someone's getting hired or fired. You know, in Pima County, it's not all about merit-based promotion. There's a lot of politics involved.
Okay.
You should know that.
Thank you. Our elected representatives are deferring policy decisions to non-elected appointed administrators to remove themselves from culpability for the end results. If the dynamics of the current Board of Supervisors changes after the election, if there is a Republican majority instead of a Democrat, would you bring forth the suggestion to your Republican counterparts to terminate or not renew the county administrator's, Chuck Huckleberry, his contract, and return decisions and control to the elected supervisors? And as a follow-up, how would you change, streamline, or improve the current way the Board of Supervisors meetings are conducted?
Thank you. Well, the answer is no on that one. You know, our elected officials need to take responsibility for these things in themselves. I'm sorry, but an appointed person, a person who's appointed does not have the same type of accountability as an elected official does. That's the bottom line. There's too much that, the answer is no.
The answer is no to you would not call for the...
I would not agree. Go ahead and say this.
The question is, would you bring forth the suggestion to your Republican counterparts to terminate or not renew Chuck Huckleberry's contract?
I would not renew Chuck Huckleberry's contract. I'm sorry, Mr. Huckleberry is not moving forthright, in my opinion, with it. You don't take monies that are allocated for one thing and move them to something else. I'm sorry, there's a shell game that's being played there. The way I would change the Board of Supervisors meetings, first of all, they'd be later in the day so more people would be able to attend them instead of early in the morning. For some reason, I was a minority member on the board. I'll tell you this, you'd hear me. We need someone who's going to have a mouth that everybody can hear. You need to use your public forums to tell people what is happening out there, what is happening with their money, the things the majority wants to oppose. But you're right, I think there is going to be 2 more members there. I think we are going to have some more members. We have an opportunity to change the entire Board of Supervisors. And I hope to be one of those good Board of Supervisors.
We're going to talk TRIO. We're going to start with Sean. What has TRIO done specifically for Pima County? Do you feel they have done a good job? And is this a good investment of our taxpayer dollars? And is your position to fund or defund TRIO? Why or why not? I know it's a lot of questions. I'm going to repeat this one. Okay, what has TRIO done specifically for Pima County? Do you feel they've done a good job? And is this a good investment of our taxpayer dollars?
Well, what I guess I would say to that one is, let's look at the numbers that the University of Arizona just came up with, folks. We have 899 jobs that have been created since 2010. I think that speaks for itself. TRIO is funded both publicly and privately. I think what we'd have to do is look at the entities that we have out there, in this case TRIO, and see what we can do to help to make them more effective. I can't say that I would dissolve TRIO. I cannot say that because I don't actually know enough about all of the functions, but I do know this. Again, let's speak to that number, 899 jobs.
Okay, so the follow-up, is this a good investment of our taxpayer dollars? Would you fund or defund? Why or why not?
I can't say I would fund or defund TRIO. I can't say. I don't know. I think it calls for an examination of the things that have happened with TRIO over the period of time since they have been both funded publicly and privately.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ray?
Thank you. I was on the board when I preceded TRIO, there was a group called Greater Tucson Economic Council. When TRIO came in place, it was exciting for a lot of people because it was going to be a public-private partnership. The Board of Supervisors would put up some $350,000 this last year. And you know, I don't think we're getting as big a bang for our buck. In fact, that $350,000, sadly, is just enough to cover the chief executive officer's fat paycheck. It's way too much money, especially when the unaccountability train left San Diego and came back to Tucson with nobody on it. Okay? I called the guy from TRIO on Wednesday after the scandalous trip of TRIO went over to San Diego to look around and see what they can do better, like San Diego does. And you know what happened? I got a call on Saturday. I began calling Joe Snell. He's the chief executive of TRIO on Wednesday. I had other board members. I'm saying, this is a real cat and mouse game. He'd been hiding from the press, I understand. I didn't know he'd be hiding from someone on the Board of Supervisors. I wanted to get some facts.
Would you fund or defund them?
I would not fund them again next year in this current time and this current makeup and with this current president. I'll tell you that right now. I was not happy with the way it turned out and with the way that the guy hid from the accountability. I only talked to him after chasing him from Wednesday, talked to him Saturday.
We'll start with Ray for question 11. Would you support or have you supported a Democratic candidate over a Republican candidate? Why or why not? Sure. Would you support or have you supported a Democrat candidate over a Republican candidate? Why or why not?
You know, I have supported a Democratic candidate. And for example, Mr. Clarence Dupnick, back in 2004, the person running against him happened to be the president of the Pima County Sheriff Deputy Association. He wanted to bring big unions into the Sheriff's Department. He wanted the Sheriff's Department to be run by a union boss. I didn't appreciate that. And as I said earlier, the unions, they're not big fans of my record. They know that I like to privatize things. They also know that I stand up against unionization of our county employees. It's a right-to-work state. We need to exploit that opportunity to keep your taxes low. I created a stir, actually, by endorsing Clarence Dupnick in 2004 among some of my very close Republican friends. And I won't do it again. Whoever wins this sheriff's primary, I'm going to support that person. But I also want you to know who Clarence Dupnick supported and who supported Clarence Dupnick. Fred Ronstadt, Kathleen Dunbar. I know Rick Grinnell asked Dupnick for his endorsement when he ran for the city council because I know people on that committee. I was on that committee. John Kyle was supported by Clarence Dupnick. Reg Morrison, John Malwini, Mayor Lou Murphy, all supported by Clarence Dupnick, who in fact was a Republican before he became a Democrat to run for sheriff in the first place. He's gone off the deep end since, in my opinion.
Would you support or have you supported a Democratic candidate over a Republican candidate? Why or why not?
I have not, nor would I. My opponent did support Sheriff Dupnick. Originally, he told me he did not. However, we have an article that does have those who supported Sheriff Dupnick. In fact, this was a flyer that was put out. It's on our website. It says, "Join us in our effort to keep Dupnick sheriff." I'm sorry, but Clarence Dupnick was never the guy. And the person who he was running against was a Republican, and the sheriff has a different kind of union. It's not the kind of union that automakers have. Sorry, it's not that kind. In fact, I have another piece of information here that you also supported another gentleman that was Democrat Select Lattice in the Oro Valley Town Council in 2007. So, you know, fiscal conservatives support the Republicans in their own party, folks. That's what I would do. I'm going to support the Republican in my party, not the Democrat in the other party.
was not a guy, it was a lady. And Oro Valley, as everybody knows, is a nonpartisan election. I had no idea what her party was, but I will tell you, it doesn't matter to me what Satish Hiremath's party is. It doesn't matter to me what Mayor Blumberg from Sarita's party is, because they are nonpartisan offices. They didn't have the party mechanisms working in their behalf. Celeste Lannis was a woman, a Gold Star mother. She lost her son in the war. Her husband and she came to me and asked me for their endorsement.
Going up to 14 questions. Sean, what are your views on the possible incorporation of Vail?
I actually was on the, originally started out on the committee for that, for the, to define the boundaries for that committee. Personally, I think there were a lot of options that were presented. I think anyone who wants to incorporate certainly has a right to do that, and I would support Vail's ability to incorporate. My opinion is, I think there's an awful lot that is going to be put. The people of Vail are going to be burdened by that. And I think I don't think the time is now to do it. I think the time is sometime down the road when we can ensure that we have enough of the tax base to do that. Businesses pay 2.5 times tax, the property tax owners pay, folks. You know, there are a couple of businesses in Vail, not that many, and you can't put it all on them. So I don't think that that's going to happen. Again, I would support it if they'd like to do it, but I would also create a forum where we can talk about all the ups and downs, upside and downside of doing that, of creating the corporation.
Thank you.
No, it's okay. I understand the question, sir. The important thing is that I've been through a couple of other efforts to incorporate. I know a little bit about it. That's why I've lent my expertise and my staff has come to meetings. We haven't missed the meetings we've been invited to. I know Sean used to be on the VCAB, the Vail Community Action Board, but he was asked to leave because he missed too many meetings. That's about the incorporation. But I will say this, that what I will say is this, is that you have a lot of options with an incorporation. You can have a contract city with as little as 2 employees and contract all your services, whether the Sheriff's Department, any other group that you think you would rather have them provide the services to your town can be contracted with. You can have 2 or 20 or 200 employees in Vail or any other jurisdiction that wants to incorporate. It's all about the best government is the government closest to home. I'll remain neutral in the Vail incorporation decision, like I did in Green Valley or in Tortolita or across the Sedotas, but I did give the people the right to vote on it, and I gave them all the important information that they would need to make it happen for themselves in the most effective way for the least tax dollar. Got a lot of my friends from VCAP. We were at the meeting last week, and I'm telling you, there was a lot of information exchanged, and they're looking forward to making sure that people have the say. And that's what's important to me as well. Thank you very much.
And we're going to talk about voting. State question. Did you support Prop 200 requiring people to show proof of citizenship when they register to vote? Why or why not?
In 2004, during that election, first off, I was unopposed, and I was surrogate speaking for John McCain and other good Republican candidates that were down here trying to get elected. What they did for us was they asked us to go out and talk about certain issues. I really had no opinion or position on Prop 200 except to say that a lot of conservative Republicans were worried about the intrusion of being able to show identification at the polls and any place else that they had to get government services. Renting a Ramada at a park, doing any kind of business with the government, they would need to show their ID. Today, when I register voters, I ask to see an ID. I did every time I was at the fairgrounds, make sure they had their ID, and that it was a driver's license. I checked that it was current and filled out their registration forms. Just like Proposition 200 then, when a proposition is passed, I don't take positions on them, I just enforce them when they become law. I learned a big lesson in 2004 about that. I've learned about other propositions over the years. You leave those up to the people to decide. Once they are, whatever iteration they turn out through the court system or any other problem, they come back to me and I enforce them. And that's what I continue and plan on doing.
Thank you. Well, what I will say is, Ray, if you were, first of all, Prop 200 speaks to registering to vote. It also speaks to when people need to show an ID so they can get welfare benefits. As far as Ray not taking a position, I find that hard to believe. I have another item which is also on my website. It's the Interfaith Walk Against Prop 200 with Governor Jan Napolitano, County Supervisor Ray Carroll, Monsignor Thomas Collins, I think it is, Collins. I assume that's a man. Thank you. And the Pima County Interfaith Council. So, sorry folks, it's right here. And you know what, I have a problem with this. Take a position. Don't stand by the wayside and not take a position. You know, what does that do for you? Let people know where you stand. I will let you know where I stand on a proposition. If it's a good proposition, it's something that's going to support the people and what they want, of course, I'll take a position on it. And I'll enforce it if it's a vote of the people. Simple as that.
As mentioned, Monsignor Coughlin, I was surrogate speaking for John McCain during that election cycle. And he had, obviously, I was with 1998, McCain ran for Senate. 2000, you know, he ran for president. In 2004, he ran for Senate again. I was surrogate speaking. Monsignor Coughlin from Our Mother of Sorrows happens to be a friend of mine. He asked me to come to this event. I said I would. I never saw that flyer, and I have not marched with Janet Napolitano for anything.
Okay, final question on this issue, and then I believe we do have time for probably the 3 bonus questions. We'll pick those. Last question, we'll start with Sean. Rosemont Copper. Yeah, this is going to be, by the way, 2 minutes for a response, not just 90 seconds. Up to 2 minutes. Please discuss your position on the Rosemont Copper mine development. You have 2 minutes.
Certainly. Thank you. On Bill Buckmaster some months ago, my opponent said, you know, I know Sean Collins is bought and paid for by Rosemont Copper. Yeah. And he's going to be running on jobs. I'm just going to run on my record. Well, you know what? I'm not bought and paid for by anybody. I am going to run on jobs. And I hope you do run on your record. Exactly. Rosemont Copper is going to provide jobs for this area, folks. I'm sorry, but after 1,500 jobs for 2 years, to build that, and you've heard it many times, to build that plant. After that, it's going to provide 450 direct jobs, 2,100 indirect jobs for the life of that mine. I encourage anyone to take the tour. In fact, there was some issue by my opponent who said, the issue was that the water coming from that is going to pollute our streams. You know, I would encourage you to take the tour. You took it 5 years ago. I'd say take it again. It's a closed system. The only water that's going to come off of that is anything that is all the tailings, the rain that hits the tailings that goes down to the into our ground. Sorry, folks. But, you know, I encourage you to take the tour. We're in hard and tough economic times, folks. It's a time when we need jobs in this county. 1 in 4 kids is living in poverty. I'm sorry, but they're doing everything right. And by the way, Rosemont is going to use a very small amount, 8 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of copper. Unlike FICO, the pecans over there, 50% of the pecans go to China, by the way, 800 gallons of water for 1 pound of pecans. Let's talk about what makes sense, folks. It's a logical answer. And everybody out there, I hope every one of you has a job, but for those who don't, it's the right thing to do. Support Rosemont.
You have 2 minutes, Ray.
Go ahead and repeat the question.
Sure. Rosemont Copper. Oh, look, they listen. Please discuss your position on the Rosemont Copper mine development.
First off, I want to tell you that I did take the tour, okay? And I did do my homework. And I've tried to be what would be considered an honest broker through this process. I think an honest broker is one that discloses the defects of a proposal and maybe suggests cures. And I have suggested some cures. And I've searched for some possible compromise. But what I pushed for first was our groundwater. You can't drink sand. You just read the highlights. Garrett, they started every newscast this morning on your program with the biggest drought in history in the United States. You might have been busy, but I will tell you that it's 25%. They've said that this is the worst drought, and it's continuing in southern Arizona and all over the country. It's bad when you look at the prospects of having Rosemont Copper take potable drinking water from the Green Valley Aquifer, pump it all the way up to the east side of the Santa Ritas, and it will have no mine water runoff. Sean said it was treated like sewer water. It's not treated like sewer water. It's full of sulfuric acid. There's other chemicals that could contaminate, and it could seep into our water table over on the east side of the Santa Ritas. But primarily, they should worry about, like I do, the groundwater in Green Valley. And instead of pumping cap water directly into the ground in Green Valley, and then Rod Pacer told me that they will then put a separate pipe next to that so they can bring the mix of potable drinking water up to the mine site. Why don't you just connect pipe A to pipe B and bring cap water directly to the mine site? I mean, that's a first of a compromise that should show this community that this company wants to collaborate and move towards some type of resolution of their issues. But instead they went the political route. They went the push and the hard political route of saying that we're going to wedge ourselves into this opportunity with the Forest Service.
Thank you. Sean, this final about 30 seconds to rebut.
Thank you. Collaborate? No, I think you want people to capitulate, Ray. That's the deal. Rosemont has every right to open that mine. Every right. They've met all the regulations to date. In fact, the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruling was overturned, stating that Rosemont, the air quality is fine, they've got to go and issue the permit. By the way, the Board of Supervisors can only monitor the air quality. That is it. Yet, my opponent, has spent your tax money fighting.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now we have time to do 3 bonus questions. Becky, you want to come up and have the candidates draw 3 pieces of paper and I'll read the questions on them too. Now, just to refresh you on the rules, you're each going to have 2 minutes to respond to these questions, 1 minute for a rebuttal. And then after rebuttal, that candidate can then, the other candidate can have 30 seconds for additional clarification for each question. So each question can have a rebuttal. So you guys are clear. 2 minutes to answer the question, 1 minute for rebuttal from the opponent, and then it goes back 30 seconds for clarification if needed by the original candidate. So since Ray started the questions, we're going to start with Sean this time. How will you move the county forward if you are in the minority position on the board? What steps will you take?
Thanks, Garrett. That's an easy one. When you're in the minority, if you want to be a wallflower, stand in the corner and you're not effective. If you're going to continue to use that as an excuse, you don't belong there. If you're in the majority, it's an entirely different story, I understand that. But you know what? The majority typically has the largest voice, largest mouth. In this case, if I'm in the minority, we need to have town halls. We need to be out there, as I mentioned, on the court steps. We need everyone to know what's happening in this county. That's the problem I find out on a regular basis. People say, I don't know what's happening. Who is my supervisor, as a matter of fact? Well, you know, the job of supervisor, the health, safety, and welfare of constituents, you've got to take care of those things. Part of that is getting them the information. You've got to get out there. Again, you're not in the minority. You've got to have a loud enough mouth to let people know what's happening out there. So that's what I would change. I'd make sure that people see me every single day. You see me in the paper, you'll see me on television. You'll know what's happening, folks. It's not an excuse to be in the minority. I'm sorry.
How will you move the county forward if you're in the minority position on the board? What steps will you take?
Being a wallflower is not my nature. I'm a fighter for the taxpayers, and I've been that way for 15 years. And I led the fight to get rid of pornography in the open in our libraries in Pima County. I led the fight against Pima County's procurement department having a culture of corruption. They had to reform that entire department because of what I mentioned earlier. It led us to the audits because we caught them giving contracts to engineers and other consultants because of contributions to political campaigns. It was a fight. I'd like to do it for 4 more years, even in the minority. I supported our Second Amendment rights by taking from Sharon Bronson's district something that was rejected that we love, and that's our southeast shooting range at the fairgrounds. The trap and skeet range opens in the fall. And lastly, I'll say, I led the fight to make sure that we'll never have a sales tax in Pima County as long as I'm on the board. A half-cent sales tax would have cost you $50 million a year.
All right, now we're going to go with Ray. You have 2 minutes to answer this, and then 1 minute for Sean. In the recent District 1 debate, Mike Ellen refers to Chuck Huckleberry's slush funds. What do you know about these slush funds? What are they used for? Please be specific. And are they accounted for in the budget that the general public can investigate on the Pima County website?
It's a tough thing to explain in just a couple minutes, but there are rainy day funds, reserve funds, board stabilization funds, state Senate equalization funds. Mr. Huckleberry has several pots of money that are stored in the budget, but only hidden with the county administrator and the finance director's knowledge of exactly how they can be utilized. These are opportunities for us. There's a $66 million surplus in Pima County from last year to this year. I say we should bring that down, but that wasn't the only reserve. The $66 million was not the only reserve of that budget. I planned on cutting that. If I was on the board majority and I was the one who made the budget motion, I would have said to bring that down to a real level of 2 or 3% that would have preserved our bond credibility and our Standard & Poor bond rating and our ability to borrow money at less expensive rates. But there are other funds that are reserve funds for all different departments, all different suggestions from the board majority, the 3. They can always find money for those, and I think that's a sad state of affairs. We need to have all of these budget surpluses and all of these reserve funds out in the public for my outside budget review committee to review and to prioritize and to say, we need to bring down the tax rate with some of that money. We need to pay off some of our debt. We have $166 million earmarked to pay down just the debt this year.
So are they accounted for in the budget, and can people access these on the website?
There is a audit of financial records every year for Pima County. Yes, they're on the internet. You can call me. I'll give you the book of the Certified Annual Financial Report, but they are in there. You just have to know where to look for them, and I can assure you that they're there, and I do know where to look for them. And I would cut them at least all by 50%, if not entirely some of them.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttal.
Sure. Thank you. Well, Ray, I guess I would say, if you would have said those things, why didn't you say them, despite the fact that you were on the minority? Yeah, you said you would have said that. You know, Chuck Huckleberry has an $800,000 PR budget, folks. $800,000. This is the tail wagging the dog. By the way, Ray, did you know that Chuck Huckleberry works for you? You don't work for him. It's strange, really. Think about it. That's my vote. Thank you.
Okay. And Ray, you have 30 seconds for clarification.
Of course I know Chuck Huckleberry doesn't work for me. I'm not an onlooker. I'm a supervisor. He doesn't work for me, nor does he speak for me. I speak for myself. He might speak for the 3-board majority, but he doesn't work for me. I do not work for him. He works for the 3-board majority, as you well know. If I had my majority, Chuck would not be the county administrator. I would be well on the way after 60 days of finding a new administrator for all of us to be able to trust. Thank you.
Now the question is for Sean. You'll have 2 minutes to answer. Name your top 3 priorities for Pima County if you are elected.
Certainly, thank you. Top 3. Creating an atmosphere that's, creating a climate where people can come and open up a business if they'd like. Accountability and transparency in government. If we had accountability, we'd have transparency, folks. If you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. And the roads of Pima County stink. We need to have money put to those roads. Let's get our potholes fixed. We talked about it earlier. There's a safety issue. We need to fix it. We can't afford to let it go any further. As a business owner, I know if you don't do regular maintenance on your equipment, eventually with that equipment, you're going to have a catastrophic failure. And we're there now. So those are my priorities.
Thank you. We need to minimize the tax burdens on the residents and the businesses in Pima County. That includes the type 3 property tax. We might have to go to the legislature to get some other opportunities and some help to reduce the taxes, to involve the business community in choosing what taxes we try to reduce, to stimulate the economy. We need to reduce government intrusions of all kinds. I've worked to reduce the size of the budget. I've worked to reduce the size of government. But where I've been most effective is by making the other board members understand that business will not come to Pima County until we institute policies that will be job beneficial. Where we can make a big difference is to reduce, as I say, the type 3 property tax, the property tax burden, the intrusion of government and business, and lastly, and most importantly, to introduce and to institute policies that bring jobs to Pima County for all of us.
Well, you know, thank you. The way you minimize the taxes is by putting people on the tax rolls. More people on the tax rolls means less taxes for all of us. That's a no-brainer. Again, 1 in every 4 kids live in poverty. We've talked about that. If we fix our roads, strangely, you're going to see businesses come here. If we stop this anti-business climate and we have opportunities for businesses to come here, create incentives for both large and small businesses to come here, they are going to come to Pima County, and we will be successful, the county that we all want to be, folks.
Thank you. And you'll have 2 minutes. It's a bit of a long question, so let me know. Explain the budget entries of $10 million to the transportation fund and the $27 million that was transferred out of the transportation fund to the capital improvement fund. What specific capital improvement will that $27 million be spent on? Was this voted on by the Board of Supervisors? And if yes, how did you vote?
There's not a lot of help in that question. $27 million out of the transportation budget was transferred out to capital improvement projects. Well, those are obviously road projects. Currently, there's probably road projects that are going to cost that, as well as the infrastructure that goes under the road. Sometimes they go privatized. Sometimes they have engineers and consultants come over and help. But most of those monies will be accounted for. All the money is tracked, whether it's 10 million or 27 million. Capital improvement projects are expensive and they're ongoing. But when, like I said before, you have to look at all the columns. You can't just go dead and potholes. You have to look at every single one, all the way from the RTA cost that we contribute to that, all the way to the HERF bond repayment, all the way to the street lights and every part of the infrastructure that's going to go into a new road project. So, again, it's accounted for, it's in the certified annual financial report.
And I guess the question is also, how does the $27 million go from the transportation fund out to the capital improvement fund?
Sometimes it's on the agenda, but sometimes it's just a departmental shift.
It's not voted upon?
Maybe it was, but I can't say 27 million, which project exactly specifically you're talking about right there. I'm not familiar with I don't right off the bat remember which one cost 27, but I can tell you there's millions of dollars that transfer from the overall public departments, that would be the public improvements, development services, all the way from transportation, sometimes in different departments. It's trackable and traceable. If someone from the Tea Party Patriots of Pima County would like to give me specifics, I'd be happy to look into it for you. Your constituents as well. Thank you.
I would say, first of all, I know people that have tried to call you Ray to get those answers and they don't seem to get a call back, first of all. Secondly, you're a 15-year incumbent. There's nothing anywhere that I know that says you should probably know where the money goes. I think you should know where the money goes. As I understand it, you're elected to know that. And if you don't know it, you know where the resource is. But people can't get the answers when you don't return their calls. That's what I'm finding out on a regular basis.
You know?
Okay, Ray, you have 30 seconds for clarification.
Well, as I said, the question was a little vague. I mean, it doesn't have a transportation project number attached to it, a street. It doesn't have any intersection that it might be close to even. All I'm saying is that I do know, if I could look at the books, I do know what the transportation budget is every year. I know what each and every budget, from parks at 15 million, health and medical at 120, development services, although they're very slim and they're lean and mean now, is under $7 million. It's going to come back. These are enterprise funds that float up and down with the economy. They're cyclical.
Okay. Thank you. Final question for Sean. What would you do to immediately help the Rosemont mine obtain permitting?
Actually, that's an easy one. First of all, I want to clarify. The Board of Supervisors does not have a dog in the fight. I certainly would not spend taxpayer money fighting Rosemont when it is not mine to spend, which is what my opponent has done. I think what I would encourage people to do is take the tour. Leave yourself open and take the tour. And many people, I understand, many people have an awful lot to say about the mine. It's a very controversial project. But you know, at the end of the day, Rosemont is going to provide well-needed jobs to this county, folks. Sorry, but that's the way it is. And again, the Board of Supervisors does not have a job in this, or excuse me, does not have a dog in this fight.
Come on, please. Please, vote. Okay. You have 1 minute to rebut.
I have a 1 minute response. Let me just say that the Forest Service requested Pima County to be a cooperating agency for our own local expertise. That's why we... The other thing I can say is that Rosemont Copper does not have the legal authority, as Sean says, to go ahead and start mining there. They need a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers 404 permit. They need a Forest Service permit. They're the ones that rely on the NEPA process to conclude with open process. I also want to say that Rosemont Copper has requested their own heap leach revisions, and that's going to cause another delay. All of these delays are to revise the alternatives. There has to be a new environmental impact statement. Most of you know that the Army Corps of Engineers has rejected the last impact statement because of the runoff. It's not going to be protected as it is, and the groundwater of Green Valley is not going to be protected, nor Eastern Sarita, nor Elgin, or anywhere else.
The only thing that the Board of Supervisors can do is to monitor the air quality. That's what they can do. And my opponent talks about the fact that there are going to be 240 jobs and he's pushed this Oracle Ridge mine. First of all, those 240 jobs are probably going to be from Pinellas County, and any posts that's something that you support. Rosemont, I maintain what I said, Rosemont is going to be a fantastic economic builder for this region. And again, the Board of Supervisors does not have, the Board of Supervisors.
Hang on one second. I'm going to have that security escort out to keep interrupting, so please stop.
Thank God we all have an opinion. That's my opinion. I'm glad it's coming, and it's going to be useful to this community. Thank you.
Everyone's getting antsy. One more question, then finishing statements. And the last one is to you, Ray, 2 minutes. The Southern Arizona Business Coalition has requested documents from the Pima County government related to the amount of monies and time spent by various county departments regarding Rosemont copper. How much money has Pima County spent opposing the Rosemont mine? Did the Board of Supervisors approve this spending? If not, why? Please be specific, and if you voted on this issue, please tell us how you voted.
I'm going to tell you that the Forest Service included Pima County as the local experts to the table as a consulting agency for the entire NEPA process. The environmental impact statement, we've added value to that. Sure, it costs money. You know, as I said before, I have to be an honest broker. As Ronald Reagan once said, you have to trust but verify. You have to make sure that these folks at Rosemont Copper realize that we have to take a real close look, because you could jeopardize our drinking water and our air quality. And it's important for all of us to know that and to make sure that, sure, county monies have been spent. And it's important that we get, once we get the Southern Arizona Business Coalition, all their paperwork, we'll make sure we have a forensic auditing of that.
Do you have an estimate of how much?
An estimate of over $150,000 in staff time, legal time, consultant time, even the model that was built, because it really showed everybody how big this mine is going to be. It's going to be as big as the University of Arizona campus, practically. It's going to be so deep that it's bound to affect the wells in the area of Elgin and Sonoya.
Did the Board of Supervisors approve the spending?
We don't approve all of it on the agenda, but certainly I approve making sure that we do all of our research to make sure that this is not going to be a fiasco for us locally, but if we could collaborate and work towards a positive outcome all together with compromise and goodwill, it could. But in the meantime, I continue, as long as they're threatening our water and our air, to be opposed to Rosemont in its current condition, and they haven't convinced me, although Mr. Pace and I spent 2 hours on your program together. Neither one of us came away empty-handed. We're going to be getting together again, and we'll see what happens. But I tell you, Mr. Pace would probably like to put cap water directly to the mine site. Not sure if his bosses are going to like it.
Thank you. I don't believe there will ever be a compromise, Ray, because you draw a line in the sand and keep pushing it back. And as I said once before, you're no Ronald Reagan. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. There was a video, Ray, the video where you talked about the executives of Rosemont. You promoted censorship, and I would encourage everyone, check out the video. You can Google it. It's where Ray calls the executives something I'm not going to say. Additionally, because there was a request for information, Ray called the person who asked for the information about where the money's been spent to fight this mine, and he proceeded to curse her out. That's your real supervisor right here, folks. Inappropriate. And I'll tell you what, that's appropriate.
30 seconds. Well, first off, I didn't compare myself to Ronald Reagan's son. I just quoted him. But I will tell you this. When it comes down to it, you have to make sure that everybody knows I'm passionate when I fight for Pima County. Sometimes inappropriate language like I made, that was at a roast. Me and Rod Pace have talked about it on your show. It's been brought up time and time again. I should have chosen better words, but it was at a roast, a private function. We've talked about it, Mr. Pace and I have personally apologized to him, and on your show.
We have 1 minute now for summaries. We're going to start with Sean first and then with Ray, because Ray got the first introduction. So Sean, 1 minute to summarize you as a candidate, and you can start whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I serve my country honorably. I serve them, and I look forward to serving you. The things that I will do are for that which is the best for Pima County and District 4. Anyone who knows me knows that my intentions are good, and my promise is my word. I believe the term honorable is something that you use only if you're an honorable person. I will be that honorable person. And I don't have to tell you I'm passionate, folks, because I think most of you know I'm passionate. Thank you.
Gary, I want to thank you. I know you have to get up early tomorrow, and I want to thank you for being the moderator, Tea Party Patriots of Pima County as well. I'm a supervisor who fights for my constituents, it's true. I'm not going to shill for anyone seeking to enrich themselves in any way at your expense. I may have used some indelicate language, as my opponent says, but I have to fight for my district and make some powerful interests mad sometimes. I also have to realize that fighting for you is an important job. It's a full-time job, and I don't take the easy way out. I've been a fiscal conservative, and I'm a Republican conservative that's had values that are Republican, exported to all parts of Pima County from my office. My wife and I have been married for 28 years. Together we have 3 beautiful children. They're the ones who make every day reminding me that they're my life's greatest achievement, second to public office. I work humbly, as best I can for the constituents I serve. I don't have anybody in my pocket, nor am in anybody's pocket. You can trust that.
On behalf of the Tea Party. Cheryl's going.
Okay. We'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, taking time away from your own personal lives to get out here and educate yourself on what the candidates' positions are. Thank you also for your donations that will help with the cost of defrayal of some of the events that we hold. Thank you for the food bank donations. Also like to thank the 2 candidates for their participation tonight. You did a great job, both of you. They will be here afterwards if you have questions. I'm sure they'll be happy to speak directly with you. We also have some of the other candidates I see out in the audience for some of the other positions that are open that you'll be voting on in the next week or so. Many, many thanks goes out to Garrett Lewis and to KNST Radio 97.1 FM. Do please visit our website, PimaCountyTeaPartyPatriots.com. I believe we did put cards on all of the chairs so that you can look up future events, sign up for our email if you haven't done so at the table at the back of the room. Thank you all for coming.
All the candidates put information on the chairs. If you do not pick it up and take it with you, it'll just be thrown in the garbage, just so you know.